And welcome to the first challenge. In this challenge, or in this series, we're going to take a look at how to solve a problem. And today's problem is the Fibonacci Sum challenge. So, first of all, we have to know what the Fibonacci sequence is, and simply we add two numbers to get the next number. And we start at 0 and 1. So the first two numbers are 0 and 1, and then we add these two to get the next number. And then we add the last two numbers to get the next one. So 1 plus 1 is 2, then 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, and then 8 and 13, and so on. So this is the Fibonacci sequence. As you can see, it's going to grow quite quickly. And this is what the problem is based on. And now we have to take a look at what the problem gives us and what we have to return. So our input is a command line argument to our program, which is going to be a text file. So this text file tells us where the input to the program is going to go, and we receive this via the command line. So in our Java programs, for example, which is what we're going to be using, we get this in the main method. We simply get it passed as a string. So for example, input.txt could be our command line argument. And then each line in that text file has the number in the sequence which we have to return. For example, one of the lines could have the number 7, and therefore, if we get the number 7, we have to print out to the console the number 13, because the 7th number in this sequence is number 13. Remember, we start counting at 0. So number 0 would be the 0th element, and then number 13 would be the 7th element. So if we get number 7, we have to print out 13. So what we want to do is simple. Read the file, gives us the command with the command line argument. Then for each input or for each line, find out what Fibonacci number we are going to print out and print it. And for that, we'll need a function to calculate Fibonacci numbers. So let's get to the program. So the first thing we're going to do is create our new file, and this is going to be a file that comes from the first argument in our command line arguments, which as we know is going to be the file. Then inside a try-catch block, we initialize our buffered reader, which is going to be reading this file line by line. And this, of course, is going to be reading from a file reader that reads from the file. And we also have to catch the exception. Then we're going to actually be reading the input line by line. So we create a string line, and this is going to hold every value. So while the value that we read line by line basis is not null, then we assign to a new variable of type integer the value of the line, and then we proceed to printing the value. So if the value is greater than 0, we print out the Fibonacci sum, and if the value is 0 or less, we simply print out 0. Then we also have to catch these two exceptions: potential conversion from integer to string and the reading of the string. Then we have to create the Fibonacci sum method, which is going to return an integer, which is going to be the sum of all Fibonacci numbers up to a certain number. So we need to initialize 3 variables, one for the previous number, one for the second previous number, and then the value we're going to be returning. We start our for loop at 2 because the first and 0th value are always 1, and the second one is going to be 1, and then the 2 and 3, and so on. The return value is always equal to a plus b because these are the two last numbers. Then b is equal to a plus b so that it increases onto the next number, and a is b minus a because that will give us the second previous number. And then we simply write a small comment that will tell us what the method is doing. So it's getting the number of the Fibonacci sequence we have to return, and it returns the total sum of iterations of the Fibonacci sequence. So that is that. We can deal with the errors if we want to, but the code challenge platform we're using here doesn't support any errors. So this is the end of the challenge. Thank you for watching.